this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the there's no place to hide. I'm burning in the What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the there's no place to hide. I'm burning in the
That's what bothers me, and I do think that he's unfair to you as well.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like, he's also made many personal attacks against me. And listen, like, all my community tried to do was we tried to get them to watch a video that was primary source evidence from far left trainings. First of all, him and Logan Lansing and Vocal Distance, they ignore all this primary source video evidence. They literally refuse to watch it. And not only do they refuse to watch it, they're proud of the fact that they refuse to watch it. And so my community kept putting this stuff in James's Twitter feed to try to get him to pay attention to what was going on in the real world. He started blocking everyone. He started smearing everyone. He flat out told people, and then we have all this documented. He told people to block members of my community because we were a coordinated campaign against him. He told people, he photoshopped evidence to make it look like no one was watching my live streams. James has accused me multiple times of having serious personality disorders that I don't have. He has literally spread smear campaigns that have been going around about me for years that have always been debunked. He has supported people who are stalking me. And so the reason I say that I don't think there will ever be a sit down with James is I just don't see how that can happen. I mean this too, and I would come to the table if James wanted to put everything aside and actually put on his fucking big boy pants and act like an adult and come to the table. I would do it, and I would behave responsibly. But I don't think he will.
If I were to maybe speak with him on a more rational level, like kind of, you know, figure everything out. If I were to set up something, would you be willing to come to the table? Because I think I have a good ear with James, and I think I could make that happen if you were willing as well.
I would be willing to come to the table, but I will treat James how he treats me. And so if he comes at me, if he insults me, if he smears me, if he shit talks members of my community, then I will treat him in kind. But if he comes to the table and he behaves like an adult and there is an agreement upon an adult discussion, then I will do it and I will behave appropriately.
So you're saying there's a chance?
It's never been from my end. It literally for years. It has never been from my end. So number one, I have a very important question. Have you gotten blocked by James Lindsay yet for that little interaction we had the other day?
No, because I'm really good friends with him. But I was.
Do you have an update?
He was not happy with the interaction.
Oh, well, see, I told you, I am not the problem in this affair. James is the problem. I told you. I don't want to get you in
Women
any
are
more
the
trouble.
problem.
I just want
Yo,
to say, I
yeah, these
told
women, they're
you.
syncing up the
When's
period.
the next
What the
Pepe
fuck?
space?
Bring it
Because I
down.
noticed in Pepe spaces they kill bitches.
Cállate.
It's just
Caroline
because
has
we're
this.
friends.
the
That's the
next
only reason I
next
get a
film space,
pass. That's the only
hold
reason
on,
I get a
Caroline.
pass.
Well, no,
the next,
he's a
oh my
dick.
god,
Women,
Like,
shut
he's
up.
being a dick. Like,
Shut up.
whatever. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry your friend is such a dick. I'm sure he has redeeming qualities that I don't know about, but he's
Shut
a
up.
dick. Well, you know, I know that was a little bit hard to hear because some people were talking over other people. My hat is crooked. That was from a Twitter space last night. And so it was a little bit hard to hear because, you know, it was after the debate. A lot of people were drunk. But people have been asking for an update on the James Lindsay friend situation. And so I happened to run into the James Lindsay friend in a Twitter space last night after the debate. And we were just, you know, like, I mean, everyone was talking over each other. That was not like, it was like that for a while because everyone was drunk because it was after the debate. But you heard pretty clearly that I was like, hey, did you happen to hear back from James on that little conversation that we had? Because remember last week, she came to me. I played a little snippet of it at the beginning of the clip. You can find the full video on my channel. She came to me and said, Carlin, I would really like you and James Lindsay to have a conversation. And I said, I just don't think that's going to happen for reason X, Y, B, and Z. And she said, but would you do it if I set it up? And I was like, yeah, I would do it. I've never been the problem in this entire thing. James has been the one making character attacks on me. He's been the one smearing me. He's been the one telling people to block me in my community. He's been doing all this shit. I would come to the table and have a conversation with the guy. I have always said that. I have said it for years. And I said, if you want to set this up, I will come to the table and behave like an adult and do it. And then I reconnected with her, and it seems as though James was a little pissed off. No, I don't think she was a troll. I don't think she was. Well, I mean, yeah, well, she admits she likes Nick. So yeah, she's been in Gripper group chats, but I don't think that she was, just because of other things that I've heard her say. So no, I think it was real. That's the sense that I have of it. I think that it was real. And I think that James Lindsay was not too. I mean, seriously, no, there's no such thing as a groipette. That's not a real thing. That's not real. That's made up. There are no female groipers. There are no women groipers. There are no groipettes. That is not a real thing. You have to be a young Catholic man in order to be a groiper. If you are not a young Catholic man, and I emphasize Catholic, man, and young. Well, I guess you can be older, I guess, but like, you definitely have to be male and a Catholic. You are not a groiper. But my point is that you know, like I have been saying, everyone keeps coming into my replies saying, Carlin, why don't you talk to James? 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 Why are you infighting Carlin? Why are you doing this? Why don't you just talk to James? Why don't you work with James? It's never been me. I hope people can see that clearly now, that there has been a connection with someone that is mutual with James Lindsay, that wanted to set up a conversation. They came to me and said, Carlin, would you have a conversation? And I said, yes, I will. And then they went to James, and he got pissed off at the idea, and he got pissed off at the entire thing, and there's going to be no conversation because it has never been me. I cannot emphasize this enough. All you people that keep saying to me, Carlin, why don't you do it? Why don't you talk to James Lindsay? Why don't you work with James Lindsay? Why don't you help James Lindsay? I can't. He doesn't want to. And so and so many people in my community have tried to communicate with him. You guys have no fucking idea. All of you who keep coming into my comments saying, why are you infighting? Why are you talking about James? Why don't you help James? Why don't you work with James? You two should be working together. You two are on the same team. I've tried. We have tried. For literally years. We have never been the problem. Your hero, James Lindsay, has been the problem. The entire fucking time. I just don't know how much more I can clear. And now people are going to be, I just don't know how much more clear I can be about this. And now people are going to be like, they're going to be like, why are you yelling? Why are you yelling? You have a tone. You're obviously the problem. You know, James is right not to work with you. And it's like, Fuck you, assholes. We have important work to do over here. Seriously. Seriously. James has made it very clear to us that we are not on the same team. And quite frankly, we don't actually believe we are on the same team because we believe we're so much farther ahead of James, it's not even funny. We're not even fighting for the same thing. We, on this side, want to actually defeat the left, while James wants to make money from Moms for Liberty and Turning Point, shilling a fiction. Because what he's doing in those talks that he's giving is fictional. We know because we've watched them. He refuses to talk, but from the way he keeps stealing your ideas, it's obviously he's a... Yeah, and that's the other thing. We have literally caught James on video multiple times now. Multiple speeches where he's stealing my ideas and he's stealing my work. And he's saying, oh, I've always told people how to do this. When in fact, no. That came from me. That came from me. So, no. James and I are never going to get along, and that's not my fault. I tried. Even after the number of times that he has smeared me, even after the number of character attacks he's made against me, even when he lifts up people who are stalking me and platforms them purely to make character attacks and assassination attempts, like character assassination attempts against me, even when he goes after members of my community and smears us, and smears just normal people here who are just trying to understand the left, even when he photoshops evidence to try to make it look like people aren't watching my streams, even when he publicly struggle sessions Not the Bee to remove credit that I earned for my work, saying you don't owe that bitch credit for anything. He literally did this. He engaged in a public struggle session with a very large conservative account saying, why don't you just take that credit away from her because she doesn't really deserve that. You don't owe anyone a finder's fee. You should really take that down. You should take it away. We have this all documented. We have the receipts. It's on my Substack. It's on my YouTube channel. You can go look at all of it for yourself. We tried again with good humor. We realized that James Lindsay was fake and gay. And now we're just going to make fun of him and we're going to mock him relentlessly, and we will never stop because James Lindsay is lying to millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people about things that we care about. And the olive branch was extended, Jimmy. The olive branch was extended. We were ready. We were ready to come to the table, to have a negotiation, to say, can we just stop? Can we move forward? We were prepared to do that. It is James Lindsay who is carrying this on because James knows that if he ever got in the same place with me and he ever tried to have an intellectual discussion with me about what the left is doing, I would kick his ass 19 ways from Sunday because I actually know what the left is doing in the real world. James just makes stuff up and talks about Gnosticism and spirituality and the stealing of souls and all that bullshit. No, I don't do that. I actually listen to what the left is saying in the real world, and we talk about it and we document it and we make clips of it and we teach people it and we show people with evidence, with primary source evidence, what's going on. Not pinky swear. Trust me, bro. It's Gnosticism, bro. So I hope that puts a stop to that. And as long as James is being an asshole, I will say and do whatever I want towards him, and he can cry his little tears and he can complain all he wants about it. But I've proven my point now on multiple occasions. I've documented all of this, and I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to hear about it anymore. My work is light years ahead of James Lindsay. And you know what? It doesn't matter that he has a bigger platform. It doesn't matter that he's the one propped up by all these retarded conservatives organizations that really, you guys understand this, right? They are paying James Lindsay to speak their talking points. They are paying James Lindsay to shill their talking points so that they can raise money. It's not about beating the left. It's never been about beating the left. The conservatives don't actually want to beat the left. Maybe the normal people do, but the organizations that those normal people give all this money to. Turning Point USA has $40 million a year. I have no idea what Moms for Liberty's budget is, but it's probably fucking massive. Tens of millions of dollars a year go to these do-nothing organizations that literally only exist to sell you a political narrative that is not grounded in reality at all, and we know that because we look at reality every single day through primary source evidence that is publicly available, that is accessible to anyone. But if no one's looking at it, then no one knows how much these people are lying to you. You don't know how much these people are lying to you until you see the left in the real world. I will never stop calling this out. I don't care how people feel about it. I don't care if I hurt your feelings. And next time you want to come into my replies with, why don't you work with James Lindsay? Why don't you talk to James Lindsay? Why aren't you guys working together? You guys are on the same team. Why aren't you fighting your common enemy? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing this other thing? Why are you infighting? Why are you attacking him? Why don't you shut up about James Lindsay? The next time any of you come into my comments with those lines, you can just remember this, that I tried and he said no. Which has been the story for years now. It's been the story for years now. So if you have complaints, you take them to James. You go into his replies. You go into his DMs. You go into his comments. Why don't you go there and say, why aren't you working with Carlin, James? Why do you refuse to work with Carlin? Why are you ignoring Carlin? Why are you pretending Carlin doesn't exist? Why are you smearing Carlin on the internet? You know, James, Carlin has all this stuff about the left. Maybe you guys should work together. Maybe you guys should talk. Maybe you guys should do this. Maybe you guys should do that. Go to him and see what happens. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. The minute that you go into his comments and say that, he's going to block you. He's going to ban you from his YouTube channel. He's going to block you on his Twitter. And he's going to forget that you exist because he thinks you're part of an organized conspiracy theory to attack him rather than just a concerned person who wants people to know the truth. That's reality. That's reality. Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to the cult. The Cult is a show that I do on Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. where we talk about really whatever I feel like talking about. Naruto says, I created a fire AI song. I don't think the link I DM'd on Twitter is working. I'll figure something out. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Naruto. I do appreciate it. And I think I saw Susan M. Welcome as a new member of the channel. Susan, we appreciate you. Thank you for signing up and supporting my work. I do really appreciate it. Hey guys, guess what? We've got a very exciting day. It's Zine Day. It's Zine Day. Honest Dog Allison has been waiting for this. As you guys know, we are working our way through my Queer Marxism week, and honestly, Queer Marxism week might extend into next week. It might extend into the week after. We'll do other stuff too, but like I've been finding so many things I want to look at. I've been finding so many things I want to dig through, and it's all fascinating because queer Marxism is all the dystopian shit that I love this stuff. I love it. I love it. I love things that are dystopian. I always have. That's part of why I study the left the way I do. And so we are going to be focusing in on zines today. Now, what are zines? Zines are DIY publications that anyone can make that the left has really appropriated in order to spread their message, to recruit people to their cause. This is a type of propaganda that is used very, very heavily on the left. They actually teach kids how to make zines in these activism classes that take place in K through 12 schools. They make zines in college. They use zines when they're spreading their message in their communities. And so I think that zines are a really cool idea and something that we can really take advantage of. And guess what? We have been taking advantage of it because we kind of started this crazy little underground project called the Unwoke Underground. You can find it at unwokeunderground.com. And check this out. So this is something that the whole bunch of people in my community have worked on. It's just a little side project we got going in my supporter Discord. But what they've done is Honest Dog Allison and Gayla and Bot and Sin have made a whole bunch of zines. These are what zines... Well, zines can really look like whatever you want them to look like. The QR codes go to my Substacks. But the point is that the whole idea is to make something that looks cool, that's eye-catching, that advances an unwoke, anti-communist, anti-leftist message. These are all things that Honest Dog Allison has made. They just look so fucking cool. I can't even get over how good this stuff looks. Gala has made some awesome stuff. See, these are Gala zines, so they look a little bit different, but they're still awesome. And this is all based on my work. These are based on my Substack articles. You can see you can print them off, make them into little books. They give you guys instructions on how to do it. Sin has made zines. Sin has this scribble style of artwork where it's a little bit more simplistic, but I mean, it still looks cool, man. And it gives you different concepts. And again, you can make a little book, print all that stuff off, and they show you how to do it. Make a little book that you can hand out to people. That's what a zine is. It's a DIY thing. And you can see that the zines, they all look different, right? And there are so many, like, the possibilities for zines are really endless. We've also made like sticker files, and by the way, you can download all this stuff at unwokeunderground.com and just use it. We've made it publicly available. Like, you can take these files, download them, print them off on your computer at home, hand them out. We're going to do a stickering campaign and a leafletting campaign on college campuses at some point this fall. Here are some stickers that have been made that you can print these off. You can also buy these in my Unwoke art store if you would like to just buy them, but you can also just print them off on the website if you want to make them at home. That's cool too. And check this out. When you guys print them off, you go put them up on billboards. You go hang them places like billboards, coffee shops, music stores. I think one of these is in a dispensary. This is actually one in a dispensary, I think. You hang them up just like people do in the real world. I know we're constantly online, but there are still people in the real world, and we need to reach people in the real world. And this is something that the left does so well, because they utilize these things, and it's cool and it's edgy and it's engaging, and it comes from punk culture. So it's different. It's like a counterculture vibe. That's what we want. And so basically what we're doing is we're stealing that idea, and we're doing it to fight the left. So a lot of you have been asking me, Carlin, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do to fight back against the left? You say we don't know what's going on because we listen to bullshit conservative commentators. So what can we do? Well, guess what? Hey, here's your opportunity. I am giving you something to do. Come and join the Unwoke Zine Project. Come tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And what's going to be happening is Honest Dog Allison is going to be giving a workshop. This is a free workshop. It is an online workshop in my private training platform where you can come and learn how to make zines. And you can come and learn about the process that Honest Dog Allison has for these. Just head over to the Substack. It's right in the middle. It's literally right in the middle of the page, Carlin, KARLYN.substack.com. And then you go in there and you click here, and then you can register for the event over here. And you can see, just register for free. It doesn't cost any money or nothing. And so what's going to happen is you're going to get sent an access code for the presentation that's going to start at 9 o'clock tonight Eastern Time. If you are not available at 9 o'clock tonight Eastern Time, then sign up anyway. And what will happen is we will send you a recording as soon as the presentation is done. And that way you can have access to it as well. It'll be free, public, on demand. And basically, Honest Dog Allison is going to walk you through her process of how she creates this to demystify the process, make it seem a little less intimidating, give you some creative ideas to work with, and then you can come and join me in my supporter Discord, assuming you're a supporter of my work, of course, because that is going to be a requirement, because that's just the way it goes. We are doing this in my supporter Discord. You can come and join us and other people who are creating this stuff, and we're going to do some cool stuff. We're going to go out to the real world. We're going to be handing these things out, putting them up on billboards on college campuses, doing stickering campaigns, stuff like that. Again, getting out into the real world, meeting real people. And the cool part about this is you can make stuff that blends in with what the left is doing, so people don't really know what it is until they get into it. And we could do some really fun things with that, I'm just saying. So you guys wanted something to do. I'm giving you something to do. No one has ever tried anything like this before, so far as I know. If I'm wrong, please let me know, but I don't know of anyone else who's done anything like this. And so we're doing this workshop tonight. It's going to be awesome. I hope people will sign up and join. And we got a whole bunch of people signed up already. Lots of people excited about this. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. And today, in honor of that, we are going to be listening to actually... This is a zine. You guys can actually see. This is the zine we are going to be listening to today. Here it is. Oh, I just put it in the YouTube chat twice. I meant to put it in the Rumble chat. I put it in the YouTube chat twice. So this is what we're going to be listening to today to give us some background and to prepare us for the workshop tonight. This is called Notes from the Underground, Zines and the Politics of Alt Culture, Chapter 1. And this is about zines, and you can go here and actually download the zine that this is based on. You can see these are limited edition things, and this is written in the form of a zine, and they have zine like examples and stuff like that. And so you can actually follow along with it and see what this is all about. And the reason that we're doing this is I want a little bit more background about when were zines appropriated by the far left. Because here's the thing, look at this. Look at this. You can tell this is revolutionary. Look at this. That's an Antifa meme right there. So when did the far left start utilizing zines? How did they appropriate them? What can we learn about them? I'm really excited to watch this or listen to this today. I think it might just be an audio thing. Yeah, it's just an audio library, but we're going to be listening to this to find out what we need to learn about this, because the far left appropriated zines from punk culture. Now, punk has always been like the counterculture, right? So they probably have never been conservatives. I think we can acknowledge that. But far left socialist revolutionaries appropriated this concept, and I want to learn more about the evolution of this, and I want to learn more about how they see it, because the more we understand them, the more we're going to be able to essentially use these ideas against them and make our own shit, and it's going to be awesome. One of the coolest zines I've seen is Death to the World, written by Orthodox Christian monks who used to be punk rockers. Yeah, because zines come out of punk culture, so it makes perfect sense that they would utilize that. But we'll have to look that up, Phase Shift. I really do appreciate it. Now, before we get into this, though, can I take a point of personal privilege? I did this yesterday. I promise we're going to be productive, but this is only 36 minutes long, so we have some extra time. Can I take a point of personal privilege? Can I get people to give a thumbs up in the chat if I can take a point of personal privilege? We're gonna do the zine thing, and I want people to be excited about this. I just have something I want to talk about and look at. Can we talk about Konstantin Kisin? Can I complain about Konstantin Kisin? Konstantin Kisin is one of the biggest fucking disappointments I have ever come across in my life. This guy is such a fucking shill. This guy is so fake, is so inauthentic. He is such a goddamn grifter. I gotta tell you guys, I was on trigonometry back in the day. Back in the day when the conservatives were using me as a pawn to prop me up as the Democrat who went to the Trump rally. I was on trigonometry back in the day. And it was funny because my community kept saying, like, when I started getting to the far left stuff, my community kept saying to me, they were like, Carlin, why don't you go back on trigonometry? 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 And I, in my head, knew. I was like, in my head, I'm going, I'm pretty sure I'm blacklisted from that show because I stopped using conservative talking points. And so I never wanted to say that. Right? Because I was still in the phase, and this was a couple years ago, I was still in the phase where I was like, I don't want to burst the bubble of my community just yet. There used to actually be a time where I did hold this stuff back, believe it or not. There used to, and I was like, I just don't, so I would brush it off. Every single time someone said something to me about trigonometry or Konstantin, I would basically brush it off, be like, I just don't think that's going to work out, and I'm really sorry about that, and I know you want to see me on this show and all that stuff, but I just don't think that's going to work out, and I just left it alone, and I didn't make a big stink out of it. Well, one of my community members one day was on a live stream, and I don't blame my community member for this, by the way. This is not their fault. One of my community members was on a live stream with Konstantin Kisin one day, and I don't even remember when this was. Actually, I can look and see. This was in December, so it was back in December, last December. And my community member, and this is one of the people who really wanted me to go on trigonometry. And my community member was on this live stream with Konstantin and Francis Foster, and she sent in like a super chat or something, and she was like, why don't you talk to Carlin about what she's been doing? And it was a completely innocent thing, right? She was trying to do the right thing because she really wanted to see me go on the show. And Konstantin Kisin responded, well, all Carlin does is infight. That's all Carlin does. All Carlin does is infight. Now, this was in December of last year. So that means this was a couple months after I'd gone undercover at the Socialism Conference. This was after I had gone undercover at the Socialist Reproductive Justice Conference back in April. This had been after I had done multiple online infiltrations into far left events. This was literally just weeks after. Literally just weeks after I had infiltrated the National Sex Ed Conference, and we got all their sessions on tape, and we got them talking about how they're using Packers in school to teach kids, to teach girls how to have dicks, and we got a whole thing where they were talking about how parents don't have parental rights when it comes to sex ed. We got all this on video. We put it all out there. There were so many news stories that I broke in 2023. It was so fucking ridiculous. And for my community member to go into Konstantin's chat and send the chat saying, why don't you have Carlin on? And for the response to seriously be, all Carlin does is infight. That really pissed a lot of people in my community off. And so, but I was still handling it appropriately, and I want you guys to see this. This is the last DM conversation I had with Konstantin Kisin, because after he said that publicly, I was like, why don't I just send him a direct message? I literally hadn't contacted him since, you can see up here, I hadn't contacted him since September of 2021. So it was a long ass time. And so on December 4th, 2023, I wrote, "Hi, Konstantin. My community member told me they spoke to you, and you said I had conflict on Twitter. I didn't know they were going to do that. For reference, the conflict on Twitter is a group of people gang stalking me, smearing me, and harassing me throughout every part of my life for the last 3 years because they were pissed that my platform grew when theirs didn't. I documented all of it if that's something you actually want to know. But the important part is that they were trying to do this while I've been trying to reverse engineer what's been going on the left and how they did what they did. I've spent 3 years going into far left socialist spaces, including going undercover at their events and developing ways to easily explain what's going on and where it's coming from. Here's a summary of my best work from this past year. I've done more undercover and independent journalism than anyone in the space in the last year, and I sent him an article that I put on my Substack that basically had my greatest hits from 2023. I always find it bizarre when people let Twitter nonsense overshadow real work, but here we are. Anyway, hope you're well and congrats on all your success." That was all that I said. I was not inappropriate. I was not mean. I didn't have a tone. I was literally just saying, hey, I heard you said this thing, and, you know, I guess I understand it, but have you seen all this stuff I have? Because maybe, as someone who claims to want to defeat the left, maybe you would be interested in this, Konstantin. And Konstantin responded, and he said, "Hey, Carlin, from memory," and it was on a live stream where we were usually off our, okay. Hang on, let me say this again. "Hey, Carlin, from memory." And it was on a live stream where we were off our faces usually. Winky. "Someone asked us about having you on the show, and we said, yes, we've already had you on." They had me on in 2020 before I started doing any of this. "And it was a great conversation, and then I mentioned that I see you regularly because you're often feuding with other people on Twitter." I didn't mean it in any sort of critical way. People could and do say the same about me too. And then I responded, I said, "Well, I guess I'm saying that I suppose it's kind of shocking to me that that's the thing that stands out most, since I do significantly more than defend myself from the nonsense others choose to sling at me. So I thought I might pass along the substance of what I've been doing for clarification, which comes across loud and clear in my feed as well. No one on the internet is doing what I'm doing, and I'm years ahead of anyone in the anti-woke space," which is true, "in terms of what they're doing and what comes next. If you're not interested, my mistake, all the best." And you can see he put a little heart on it. The next day, Konstantin Kisin unfollowed me on Twitter. A couple days after that, Konstantin Kisin blocked me on Twitter. I had had no public interactions with Konstantin Kisin. Other than, I had no public interactions with him. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. All I did was say, here's what I've been working on. Maybe you'll be interested. And then he pretended to play nice. And then he unfollowed me, and then he blocked me for no reason. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. I know exactly what's going on. I got you, Konstantin. I got you, you fucking inauthentic grifter shill. Well, fast forward after October 7th. Actually, this was already after October 7th, wasn't it? It seemed like, pardon me, I'm getting my dates mixed up. Fast forward, and Konstantin Kisin is acting like an insane person, and he's struggle sessioning anyone who disagrees with him. He has to, like, I mean, it's just really insane. Naruto, thank you for the super chat. I posted a video of the AI song in the Discord music section for people to check out after the stream. Thank you, Naruto, for that. We do appreciate it. Rationalist says, isn't this guy the free speech warrior? Yes! Hasn't he made a career of being anti-cancel culture? Yes, he has! And yet he was so quick to cancel you and block you. Exactly my point. Exactly my point. Because for the last year, Konstantin Kisin has been publicly struggle sessioning and going after anyone who does not support Israel. And he just did it again today. And I saw this post from Trigonometry earlier, and I commented on this post on Trigonometry. This post says, who are the woke right and why aren't you allowed to criticize them? I responded to this post from Trigonometry earlier today, and I said, I'm going to make this easy for you. Konstantin Kisin is the woke right. I was blocked within seconds. Literally within seconds. It was like, and they got dogpiled on for this post because Konstantin's been acting like an asshole. Anyway, I would like to watch this video about who Konstantin thinks the woke right is. And it's not that long. It's only 10 minutes. And then we're going to do the zine stuff after that. But I just want people to see. Because the reality is this. There is a woke right. I started writing about the woke right years ago. I think I was one of the first people to start talking about woke on the right, like back in 2021. There is a woke right. But Konstantin Kisin is fucking on it. There are a whole bunch of influencers on the right. From Dave Rubin, to Douglas Murray, to Gad Sad, to Konstantin Kisin. Gee, what do all of those people have in common? They're all Jewish. I'm not saying that all Jewish people are like this. I don't think all Jewish people are like this. I am saying the people who are on the woke right universally are either Jewish or they support Israel. They might be Christian and support Israel, but like that is the common denominator right now. These are the people that are trying to get people canceled for speech they disagree with. That is like one of the foundational aspects of woke. I don't know how people are confused about this. The reason I left the left in 2020 is that I was involved in a knitting community where everyone was trying to get everyone else canceled for speech they disagree with. It is no different when you are trying to get people canceled for speech you disagree with when it comes from the right than it is from the left. That is what woke is. Woke is an authoritarian that wants to control what you can say and what you can do and what ideas you can consider and what jokes you can make and what speech comes out of your mouth. And when you don't do what they want you to do, they struggle session you, they shame you, they peer pressure you, they organize fucking cancel mobs against you. That's what woke is, and that is exactly what Konstantin Kisin is doing right here. And he's trying to project his bullshit onto everyone else. This is the ironclad law of woke projection in action. Konstantin Kisin is like, anyone that doesn't have the narrative about World War II that I want them to have, they're the woke ones. Seriously, they're the woke ones. They have opinions I disagree with, guys. And listen, by the way, I don't actually care what your opinion on World War II is. I don't actually care what your opinion on Israel is. I am friends with Zionists. There are people that are Zionists that I support the work of. Stu Studios is a Zionist. We love Stu Studio. You want to know why? Because even though I am opposed to what Israel is doing, and even though Stu Studio is absolutely on Israel's side, Stu Studio does awesome fucking work. And we have a mutual respect because we both do a similar type of thing. And so I respect him and he respects me. And you know what happened? We don't bicker about the things that we disagree with. I will unequivocally always support Stu Studio's work. And he has always been just the nicest person in the world for me to interact with. He's come into our chat. There has literally never been a problem. So this is not about I hate everyone I disagree with, because that's just not true. This is not about, like, you can have a different opinion than me. But if you are going to try to struggle session me or people I care about, if you are going to try to form cancel mobs against me or people I care about, all over a difference of opinion, it is not the fact that you support Israel that's the problem, Konstantin. It's the fact that you're struggle sessioning and forming an online cancel mob that is the problem. It's not the fact that you're Jewish, Konstantin. No one actually gives a fuck. The left doesn't give a fuck either, by the way, which you would know had you actually paid attention to the left. You know, Dan and I, we disagree. Dan and I disagree. Guess what? We don't even fight about it because I'm allowed to have my opinion. Dan is allowed to have his. I don't hate Dan. I don't feel any sort of way. I love Dan. I think Dan is fucking awesome. This is not about being Jewish. This is not about supporting Israel. This is about being a woke authoritarian that wants to censor the speech of people that they disagree with. That's it. Oh yeah, he's Jewish. Yeah. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Anyway, I want to play this clip and I want to watch. I actually haven't watched it yet. And then we're going to do the Zine thing and then we're going to have a productive rest of our day. All right? That's my point of personal privilege. Let's get this party started.
Right.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
Few people now remember
Look at
what
this.
the word woke.
Hang on.
Thou shalt not criticize the woke right.
Look at who Konstantin Kisin is saying is on the woke right. Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, because Candace Owens has questions about the chosen people, and Tucker Carlson interviewed a historian that was critical of Winston Churchill. That's the crime that Tucker Carlson committed for Konstantin Kisin. He interviewed a historian that was rather critical of Winston Churchill's behavior during World War II. Candace Owens, we hate Candace Owens. We hate that bitch. But we don't hate Candace Owens for the same reason that Konstantin Kisin hates Candace Owens. We can identify that.
Few people now remember what the word woke meant before it became an insult. These days it is used by those of us who believe in reality to mock the lunatic fringe of the left. But it was
the word woke is used towards those of us that are used by those of us who believe in reality. Konstantin Kisin believes that he believes in reality, and he is hinged into reality.
It was not always thus. While the word has come to mean an ideology obsessed with victimhood, identity, and the falsification of history to suit today's political agenda,
that's not what it means.
Those who once proudly called themselves woke intended something else. It was, at that time, a self-congratulatory label, which meant, first and foremost, being aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues, especially in relation to racial and social justice. As has been discussed ad nauseum, in practice, what this awareness of facts pertaining to various forms of justice meant was a framework in which certain groups were victims and other groups were victimizers. Some groups were suffering, and their suffering was...
Now, he's describing Marxists here. That's what he's describing, which is, of course, true, although Konstantin Kisin doesn't care about real socialists in the United States. I think we can all understand that. First of all, Konstantin Kisin doesn't even live in the United States, so I don't even know why Konstantin Kisin is in charge of doing commentary on the United States at all. Konstantin Kisin lives in the United Kingdom. I am so fucking sick of people coming from other countries to talk about the United States. No offense, people from other countries. I love you guys. I really do. I have no hate towards people from other countries, but I'm married to a fucking immigrant. However, I am so sick of these influencers that don't live here, that don't have any skin in the game, doing commentary on what is going on in the United States. Like Ian Miles Chung. Ian Miles Chung lives in Malaysia. Ian Miles Chung has never been to the United States. Konstantin Kisin and Francis Foster live in the United Kingdom. Billboard Chris is from fucking Canada. Why are all these people doing commentary on what is going on in the United States? They don't even live here. That's an aside.
Responsibility of other groups which had conspired to mistreat and take advantage of them. But a conspiratorial worldview of this nature cannot be maintained on faith alone. Explanations had to be given for why this false narrative was in fact not false at all. First, and highly relevant to our imminent discussion of the woke right, the woke left never claimed that the arguments they were making were true. Instead, rather than attempting to prove the impossible, they wisely made an entirely different claim. Truth, they
Konstantin Kisin believes the woke left has never claimed that their arguments were true. Do me a favor, guys. One in my chat if you believe that the woke left have never claimed that their arguments are true. Two in the chat if the woke left absolutely believes that their arguments are true. One in the chat if the woke left have never said that their arguments were true. Two in the chat if the woke left absolutely believes their arguments are true, based on what you guys have seen. Two. It's not a single one. It's not a single one in the chat. So no, Konstantin, wrong.
argued, is merely a linguistic projection of power. The powerful brainwash the rest of us into seeing the things they want us to believe as the truth. To claim that something is true is to abuse the power you have over others. It is an act of linguistic violence. This is why if you were to assert that you know how many genders there are, or quote facts about contentious social issues, such as police violence against minorities, that would be used as evidence of your poor character and nefarious intent. All it showed was your bias, fragility, and so on. If this sounds a little abstract, a more concrete and even more relevant example is what the wokesters did to history. They attempted to destroy, both physically and reputationally, anything about the past that served as a reminder of the achievements of our society. Statues were torn.
You don't say, Konstantin. You don't say. They tried to destroy any history that was not convenient for their narrative. You don't say, Konstantin. Let's just remember that. That Konstantin Kisin says an attribute of woke is trying to destroy any aspects of history that you personally find inconvenient for the political narrative that you're selling.
Down and defaced. Historical figures on whom we'd looked with pride or to whom we looked for inspiration were attacked. Why? Because history, and the truth more broadly, is to humans what roots are to trees. It is a way of knowing which way is up and which way is down. Strip a people of the history, destroy the concept of truth itself, and they're left unmoored, floating in limbo, pushed and pulled in random directions by every new seductive force that comes along. As Hannah Arendt powerfully explained, the constant lying is not aimed at making the people believe a
She's Jewish, right? She's Jewish. Hannah Arendt, Jewish. Let me see. I'm just confirming. Yup, Jewish. Yep. Okay. Okay. So the Jewish quote is, the constant lying is not aimed at making the people believe a lie, but at ensuring that no one believes anything anymore. A people who can no longer distinguish between truth and lies cannot distinguish between right and wrong. Yeah, if you look her up, she's Jewish. Just look it up. I'm not making this up. It's on her Wikipedia. Janice Zeal says, hey, Carlin, I've got a new laptop, so it'll be more frequent. Keep my wrench. Hugs. Carlin gets hugs and soon drawings. Thank you, Janice. I appreciate you. Funnily enough, the name of the AI song I created is called Woke Right. Hey, that's great, Naruto. Appreciate it.
lie, but at ensuring that no one believes anything anymore. The people who can no longer distinguish between the truth and lies cannot distinguish between right and wrong. And such a people, deprived of the power to think and judge, is, without knowing and willing it, completely subjected to the rule of lies. With such a people, you can do whatever you want.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that an interesting quote? Hang on, I feel like with such a people, when people are not aware of history, you can do whatever you want with those people. You know, this quote can be read in a number of different ways. This quote can be read from several different perspectives. Some might read this quote as, if you are part of a group, let's call them the Christians. Just for argument's sake, I'm not saying this is real. Actually, no, let's not even call them the Christians. Let's call them, what is a fake name for a fake group? Let's call them the Overlords. This is a fake group. It's a made-up group. This group is not real. I'm making an analogy. I'm making an example. If you are part of a group that we're going to call the Overlords, the Jim Jones group would have been good. We're going to go with the Overlords because it sounds cool. Like if I gone with the Christians, that would have been confusing to people, because I'm not trying to insult Christians. We're going with the Overlords, okay? The Overlords. Yeah, maybe we could even say the People's Temple. No, we're going with the Overlords. Okay. Say you're part of a group called the Overlords. That is a fake fictional group that I've just made up. And that fake fictional group manages to co-opt history. That fake fictional group manages to mythologize certain events so that a large portion of the world believes things are true about those events that are not grounded into reality. Again, I'm making up a fictional group. This is not real. I'm just giving you a certain perspective on this quote. So you've got a group of overlords that mythologize major world events. And they use the mythologization of those major world events to convince people, starting when they're in school. They're so effective that they get into every school, and the teaching of their myth is mandated, and there are books written about their myth, and there are Hollywood movies made about their myth, and it just becomes so prevalent in culture that a significant part of the population believes in a literal myth that wasn't real. But they did such a good job at doing all of this stuff, all of this propaganda, let's say, to make people think it's real. We're basically talking about the allegory of the cave. Exactly. Like, there's a big percentage of the population that are in the cave that are controlled by the overlords, which is a fictional group. And the people in that cave are looking at the shadows on the wall, and that's all they understand. Right? So so going based on this quote, with such a people you can do whatever you want. Well, yes. If you are part of the fictional group that absolutely does not exist, that is responsible for delivering the message to humanity and putting all the shadows on the wall in the cave, you can control the group of people in that cave. That's exactly right. This is a fantastic fucking quote. Exactly. No, absolute no. It is a fictional group.
Completely subjected to the rule of lies. With such a people, you can do whatever you want. The woke logic operates like this. There are good and bad identity groups. You can't trust anything you've been taught about history or anything you're being told today, because your beliefs are based on lies spread by people who are in control of society. There is another select group of people, us, who understand what's really going on, and we're bravely raising awareness of the issue.
Oh,
anyone who disagrees with us or criticizes us
God.
is doing so because they're a bad person, and their criticism and disagreement just proves that we are right and they're bad. The woke revolution which occurred over the last 10 years was bad enough, but the iron law of reality is that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Having lived through a decade of this race Marxism which spread through our elite institutions like an aggressive cancer, I believe we're now witnessing the emergence of an equivalent phenomenon on the fringes of the right. Tucker Carlson has just hosted a man called Daryl Cooper on his show, describing him as maybe the best and most honest popular historian in the United States. Cooper, who goes by the online moniker Martyr Maid, is indeed incredibly honest. In addition to thinking that Adolf Hitler, a genocidal mass murderer, strolling through the Paris he had just conquered is highly preferable to drag queens, Cooper also explained that Churchill was the chief villain of World War II. The thread he posted on X following his interview with Carlson is so historically illiterate that every major claim he made...
Did you see? They have someone in the community notes system. Look at this.
With Carlson is so historically illiterate.
There. You guys know the community notes system on Twitter is weaponized, right? Everyone knows this, right? You guys know there are a significant number of people who are in the community notes system purely to weaponize it against other people. And it looks to me as though whoever made this video is in the community notes system and can rate and submit proposed community notes. But I find it funny. Konstantin Kisin is supposed to be like the guy that's going to push all the liberal. Konstantin Kisin is the king of liberal values. Konstantin Kisin is the savior of liberalism. And it doesn't seem to me as though Konstantin Kisin is actually making an intellectual argument against any of the things that have been made. He's just saying, look, guys, look, Twitter says that he's wrong. There are some tweets in this thread that have community notes, guys, because Twitter says they're wrong. Why can't Konstantin Kisin argue? Why isn't Konstantin Kisin showing even what the argument is? If the argument is so obviously false, and I haven't even read this thread, so I'm actually not commenting on the veracity of this thread. I have no fucking idea. I don't even like this guy. I don't like this particular historian, so I'm not on this guy's particular team. I don't actually like him. I've never read this thread. I'm just saying that it seems a little intellectually fucking dishonest to me that Konstantin Kisin is just scrolling through the thread and saying, look, guys, it has community notes. Don't actually read it. Don't read it, because if you read this thread, I might have to make an intellectual argument against it, and I know I can't make an intellectual argument against it. I just have to call this guy a Nazi because you know why? Tucker Carlson dared to interview someone I disagree with, guys. How dare Tucker Carlson not get approval from me for every single person that he interviewed? And now I'm struggle sessioning him on the internet and calling him the woke right, even though I'm the one doing the struggle session, and I'm, in this case, Konstantin Kisin. Konstantin Kisin is doing a struggle session. Tucker Carlson doesn't give two fucks about Konstantin Kisin. I hope everyone knows that. Tucker Carlson doesn't give two fucks what Konstantin Kisin thinks. It's Konstantin Kisin who is trying to struggle session Tucker Carlson rather than making an intellectual argument, which is what he damn well should be doing if he actually believes in the liberal values that he claims to be the only person upholding.
That every major claim he made was debunked on X itself within hours with community notes and in articles published by prominent historians such as Victor Davis Hansel, Neil Ferguson, and others. But this video is not about Cooper. I do not find him remotely interesting. There are and have always been lying charlatans and overconfident fools. What is interesting is the warm
Konstantin, yes. There have always been lying charlatans and overconfident fools, Konstantin. Very, 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 very true. There have always been lying charlatans, grifters we might call them, and overconfident fools. You're correct.
Welcome he received on Tucker Carlson's show and what that represents. The woke right, for which Carlson is the undisputed spiritual leader, is feeling its way to a logic of its own. It is far from being fully formed.
The woke right, of which Tucker Carlson is the undisputed spiritual leader. Are we about to call Tucker Carlson a Gnosticist? Is that where we're going? Is that fuck all these people.
But it goes something like this. You can't believe anything you're being told. Look how they lied to you about Trump. True. COVID. True. And Biden winning the 2020 election. False. What if they also lied to you about everything else? We don't claim to know the truth. We're just asking questions. But we know what the truth is not, whatever the elites are telling you. Look how triggered they are by us just asking questions. That's evidence of their bias and fragility. It proves we are right. This is where historical revision is.
No, Konstantin. That's not what proves they're right. That's not what proves they're right. And I'm not saying they are right about everything, because again, I haven't even read that thread. But I'm saying that what proves they're right is historical reality and fact. That's what proves they're right. You aren't even attempting. This guy's got some fucking balls. You are not even attempting to deal with their actual arguments, Konstantin. You aren't attempting to lay out their evidence and then debunk it. You're just saying, pinky swear, trust me, bro, guys. They're just like the woke left guys. Pinky swear, trust me, bro. I'm sorry, but you would have to be an absolute moron to believe that we have been told the truth about every event in history. Given what, I don't know how you exist in the world in the last 4 to 5 years. With the amount of just absolute lies that have been told by the government, absolute lies that have been told by the media, absolute lies that are told in books that are published every goddamn day, do you really think that people just started lying? Do you really think the lying just started a couple of years ago? Because I don't think the lying started a couple of years ago. I don't think we've been told the truth about any historical event ever. And I don't think I don't think that's a crazy idea. Given the utter amount of propaganda that has just been on Earth in the last couple of years, and the only reason we see this now is because we have more access to information than we've ever had in human history before, and we have more abilities to communicate with other people and sort through that information. We can use AI to parse that information. We have a monumental, like, we have it all right in front of us right now. We didn't have that 50 years ago. So it would have been much easier to lie about something 50 years ago than it is now. So, and you're telling me they just would never have thought to do that? Bullshit. Yeah, Konstantin Kisin. This all started when Elon Musk bought Twitter. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. We all know the line, history is written by the victors, but do you think that just started in the past couple years? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of World War I? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of World War II? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of the Civil War? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of the Revolution? Do you think the victors didn't write the history of Vietnam? Like, I just don't even know what to tell you. Like, we all know this line. But this line means that we have been lied to about every event in history, in human history, not just in the United States, everywhere. Because we are always shown the victor's version of the truth, every single time. The victor's version of the truth may or may not be grounded into reality. And there is nothing wrong with questioning everything. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions. Konstantin Kisin wants to be in charge of what questions you are allowed to ask. I hope everyone understands this. Konstantin Kisin wants to tell you what ideas you can think about, what ideas you can consider, what books you can read, what people you can listen to, what videos you can watch. And he pretends to be the guy that's going to uphold liberal values. He can't even make an intellectual argument. Everything this guy does on the internet is scripted by someone else who is trying to sell you a narrative. You are paying him to lie to you when you give him money or you watch his content or you elevate what he says. He wants to be able to censor you. Why are you giving him power over you? You give him the middle finger and you tell him to fuck off back to the United Kingdom or back to Russia or back to wherever the fuck he wants to go, because what ideas you consider are not his responsibility. He does not own you. He wants to rule you. Woke means authoritarian, Konstantin. Woke has never been about the left. You just painted it that way because it was politically convenient for you to do so. Woke means authoritarian.
Comes in. Just like the woke left, the woke right has come to hate the West for the reasons I detailed in my previous video. Well, what is more, what else are they like?
We hate the West. Whatever, bro.
Lying about question is a slippery slope down which you inexorably slide if it becomes the lens through which you see the world. Just as a woke leftist sees a conspiracy against him that he calls systemic racism in every workplace, classroom, and interaction, So a woke rightist sees a conspiracy against him in every institution, media publication, and historical consensus. Importantly, disagreement and
Did he just say that all MAGA people were on the woke right? Is that real? Hang on. Why is Konstantin Kisin comparing BLM with MAGA? Listen, MAGA people annoy me for the most part. I think they're obsessed with Trump. I think it's a cult of personality around Trump. But MAGA people are not the same as BLM. That guy, he has got some balls, man. Konstantin Kisin has got some balls. I wonder how many Trump supporters does Konstantin Kisin have in his audience? Konstantin Kisin is literally spitting in their face right now. I hope people know this. Yes, this is your based conservative influencer, sir. MAGA is just like BLM. They are all the woke right because they didn't vote for Ron DeSantis. I wonder how many MAGA people fund Konstantin Kisin. I wonder how many MAGA people send Konstantin Kisin super chats. I wonder how many MAGA people subscribe to Konstantin Kisin's channel. I wonder how many MAGA people fund anything this guy is involved in. And he just spits in their face like this?
institution, media publication, and historical consensus. Importantly, disagreement and criticism only reinforces his belief in the conspiracy. Note how this is an exact mirror image of the woke left's approach to debate. Put forward false assertions, make no attempt to back them up when challenged, and use the criticism you receive as evidence of both your rightness and your righteousness.
Okay, so Konstantin, let's talk about what you're doing. You're making a list of false assertions. You're not making any attempt to back them up with evidence. And when people criticize you for making those false assertions, you call them the woke right, which you also don't back up with evidence. It kind of sounds like the ironclad law of woke projection there, bro.
The one element that is still missing, which is why the ideology has yet to properly take shape, is that the scapegoat group behind the conspiracy is still unclear. To the woke left, straight white men are the obvious source of the world's evils, but the woke right has struggled to find an equally plausible culprit. They've experimented with globalists, Marxists, and elites, but none of them fit the bill because they do not readily conjure an image of the suspect group in the mind of the average viewer. If you ask 10 woke writers to draw a picture of a globalist, a Marxist, or a member of the conspiratorial elite, they'd likely struggle. And because elites is what they've gone with for the moment, the logic doesn't really work. When most people on the woke right think of the elites, they imagine a cabal of senior Democrats, billionaire funders,
It's
and
amazing.
the leaders of other major
There's a word that Konstantin Kisin is not saying that I just find conspicuous based on its absence. Isn't it? There's something that's just being overlooked in his analysis here. I can't quite put my finger on the word that's missing. Let's see if he says that word for the rest of this video. It's got 3.5 minutes left. Let's see if he can get to that word.
institutions. And the problem with that is that it's extremely difficult to believe that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are orchestrating a conspiracy, given that they appear unable to get through a press conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm going to come to the overflow room.
This is where the war in Israel has come in handy. For people like Candace Owens, another darling of the woke right, whose ignorance and conspiratorial delusions are matched only by her charisma and bombastic arrogance, it has provided the opportunity to hone in on something a little more tangible. She currently spends most of her time debating weird rabbis and ranting online about...
Yeah, I remember this too. If people haven't watched this, when Just Pearly Things went on their show, Konstantin Kisin grilled her on how dare you interview Nick Fuentes, and why didn't you ask Nick Fuentes these questions when you interviewed him, and how dare you do this, and aren't you a bad person for interviewing Nick Fuentes? I really recommend people go back and watch that, because it was like, it was absurd. You would have thought that Konstantin Kisin thought that he was Just Pearly Things' boss and had any authority to tell her what to do at all. It's like, who wants to watch an entire episode of a show where the person being interviewed is being grilled about how dare you interview this person, and why didn't you ask the questions we wanted you to ask, and why didn't you push back on him hard enough, and why weren't you meaner to him, and why didn't you denounce everything that he said? And then I would actually encourage people to go watch the interview that Nick Fuentes did with Just Pearly Things, because I watched the whole thing and it was fucking great. It was great. You actually got to see Nick as more of like a human being. You got to see his personality come through. He was like really smart. He talked through a bunch of things. He wasn't hateful to anyone. He didn't call for the genocide of anyone. It was a solid interview. But no, we're not. And that of course was the problem, is that Nick Fuentes came across as very human and likable in that interview with Just Pearly Things. And Konstantin Kisin can't have that, because remember, guys, Konstantin Kisin is in charge of what everyone else can say and do on the internet. And he really thinks he's not woke.
Frankists. I don't claim to know what she means exactly, but for some reason her audience pepper her tweets with replies encouraging her to just say Jews. Whether the rest of the woke right moves in this direction remains to be seen.
There's
For now, on the mainstream right, the taboo against associating with illiterate Nazi apologists of the type that Carlson's just hosted has held up remarkably well. We'll see if that remains the case over the months to come.
The argument that he's making is that they're illiterate. Konstantin, you literally attacked the guy for writing a whole Twitter thread. The guy has written books. I really don't think the guy is illiterate. He's not illiterate. I mean, this is, Konstantin, this is just basic facts here. If you can write whole books and you can write whole Twitter threads, you are not illiterate. I know I'm trying to educate the savior of liberal values here, and I know that facts just don't mean anything to him, but illiteracy actually has a very specific definition. It means you can't fucking read. Duh. I was right when I told you guys what he was a while back. No one listened to me. They were all like, no, Carlin, Konstantin is good. And I was like, oh, I'm going to burst that fucking bubble.
Come. For an actual history of Churchill, by the way, I recommend our discussion with historian Andrew Roberts or the conversation he had with Douglas Murray here on YouTube.
He was involved in 3 car crashes, 2 plane crashes. He
Konstantin
went into no
that
man's
you
land in
watch
the First
his
World War some 30 times.
Watch his
he got
version
so
of
close
Winston
to the
Churchill
German
because,
trenches,
you know,
you could actually
Konstantin
hear them
knows
speaking
everything.
in their trenches. He once said that there's nothing so exhilarating in life as to be shot at without result. The Conservatives tried to deselect him, and every single thing that he said turned out to be right, and everything that they said turned out to be wrong.
Does anyone find that a little unbelievable? That historian literally just said that everything that Winston Churchill said was right and everything that everyone against Winston Churchill said was wrong. Now listen, man, there are people that are very smart. There are people that can have very high accuracy rates in terms of what they get right. But Winston Churchill was around for a long ass time. And I think we can all agree that World War II was probably a pretty complicated affair. And I just find it hard to believe that literally every single thing Winston Churchill ever said and did was right. And every single thing that someone who opposed Winston Churchill ever said or did was wrong. Because common sense will tell us that no one is always right and wrong or wrong. Yeah, the truth about Winston Churchill is regurgitating every mainstream talking point about Winston Churchill. It's almost like Winston Churchill has been mythologized. It's almost like that fictional group of overlords, again, completely fictional group that we just made up like half an hour ago. They're projecting certain images about Winston Churchill onto the walls of the cave, and the masses are watching those really massaged narratives about Winston Churchill, and they're believing them because they don't have any other information. It's just that's the only information they have. So why would they question it? That's all they know. The cave is their world. The overlords are telling them what the correct story is, and there is nothing disputing it. He's illiterate in that he is not literate in the oppression narrative of a certain group. It's like critical pedagogy. Exactly. Thank you, Mizakan.
If you enjoy these videos, please remember that they're available in my Substack days, weeks, and sometimes even months ahead of time. Make sure you head on over there now by clicking the link in the description and subscribe. As you know, I've been concerned about both the economic and political direction of travel of Western countries in recent years.
Oh my God!
That being the case,
Is this just a gold commercial for the rest of this? This is literally just a gold commercial for the rest of this. That's it. Oh my God. Oy vey. Oy vey. Oy vey indeed. Yeah, I have no words. Yeah. Well, hey guys, listen, there is a commitment that I can make to all of you right now as we wrap up this segment on Konstantin Kisin. I will never try to sell you gold. I promise. I pinky swear. Trust me, bro. I will never, ever, 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 ever try to sell you gold. But do you know what I will sell you? If you feel so inclined to support me with money in some way, do you know what I will sell you? I will sell you designs that I make in my merch store, including this new limited edition Trump Quiet Please Here t-shirt. Quiet Please t-shirt, not here. Quiet Please t-shirt that I just made last night in honor of the what I thought was the most iconic moment of the debate, where Trump said to Kamala, he was like, "Quiet, please." And I was like, I was dying. I thought it was so great. And I thought it was so great. I made a limited edition t-shirt of that iconic moment that is available in the Unwoke art store right now. It is available for 25% off until Sunday evening. The discount is automatically taken at checkout. You just need to go and put it in your checkout and you'll have the discount. And look, guys, you just go to unwokeart.com and you can get that there shirt. I put the link in the chat. I've got the link in the chat over on Rumble as well. And it's literally right at the top of the homepage. I made it right before I got started. So it's only in a t-shirt right now. I might make some other merch later tonight, but I only had time to make it in a t-shirt today. We've got it in black. We've got it in red. We've got it in gold. We've got it in navy. We've got it in purple. We've got it in black heather. We've got it in oxblood black. And just for the lovely knitting queen Judy, we have got it in heather dust, a lighter color as well. And that is going to be available for a limited time only in the Unwoke art store. So it's not going to be available long because it's a special debate edition. So if you like the shirt, pick it up. And I think it turned out pretty good myself. I'm pretty proud of this shirt. All right, guys, let's get back to business. We are going to be learning about zines. As a reminder, if you just joined us, we have a zine making workshop later today in about 2.5 hours. You can sign up for the zine workshop on my website right now. It is free to sign up. If you are not available to come to the live show, you can sign up and we'll send you the recording once it's over. But in preparation for the zine workshop, I wanted to get a history of the zine as a political tool. Thank you for allowing me to take a rather long point of personal privilege, but I had lots of things to say about that video. And I think it was worth it. So now we are going to be switching gears. We are going away from gossip and drama and conservative shill grifters who are being paid to lie to you. And we're going to transition into making our own propaganda because we at least know our ideas are grounded in reality and aren't just made up bullshit that are funded by the fictional overlords. So let's sit back and let's learn about zines as political tools. Again, this is actually just an audio version of the book. If you want to download the file for it, I'll put the link to the chat. This is the file that is being read from. And let's see what they had to say.
Notes from Underground,
It was
Zines and the
loud.
Politics of Alternative Culture. Written
love it
by
when it's
Stephen
loud.
Duncombe. Read by Sen Naomi Kirschultz. This is Chapter 1, Zines. Zines. But what are they? That's the first question I'm usually asked when I start to talk about zines. My initial and probably correct impulse is to hand over a stack of zines and let the person asking the question decide. For this is how they were introduced to me.
Am
Some
I
years
not
back,
actually...
I went on a trip to Boston.
Is my Rumble stream not actually working? Hang on. Is my Rumble stream not actually working? That would suck. Oh, no, it is working. Okay, never mind. False alarm.
To visit some old friends playing in a band. There, I plan to hang out and work as their roadie.
Hi, Susan. Yes, I do have a Discord. It's available for supporters on my Substack and my locals. If you just send me a message, like, because I know you just joined YouTube channel as a member. If you send me a message, either like a DM on Twitter, or you can go to Substack and send me a message. I'll get you the link because you just became a supporter on YouTube. So.
Lugging equipment to gigs, setting it up, and taking it down. I had played in a couple of punk rock bands in the early 1980s, and I suppose part of me wanted to feel again some of the excitement and energy that comes from being in a band, and part of a subcultural scene. Fortunately, my descent into nostalgia was nipped in the bud. When I got there, the band had broken up. I had little to do except walk around the city, sneak into Widener Library, and hang around my friend's apartment. Scattered around their apartment, piled precariously
Yeah, I'm Carlin B on Discord.
on the coffee table, buried under old pizza boxes, forgotten in the cracks of the sofa, were scruffy, homemade little pamphlets. Little publications filled with rantings of high weirdness and exploding with chaotic design. Zines. Although I knew about zines from my days spent in the punk scene, I had never really given them much time or thought. Now, with plenty of time, I spent hours going through them. I was awestruck. Somehow these little smudged pamphlets carried with them the honesty, kindness, anger, the beautiful, inarticulate articulateness, the uncompromising life that I had discovered and lost in music.
So what he's saying is essentially zines come across as more authentic. Zines are not this polished thing that are just it's nicely edited. It's got this professional look on it. Zines are purposefully gritty. They're purposefully they come across as more real because they're not overly produced.
Music, then later radical politics years ago. Against the studied hipness of music and style magazines, the pabulum of mass news weeklies, and the posturing of academic journals, here was something completely different. In zines, everyday oddballs were speaking plainly about themselves and our society with an honest sincerity, a revealing intimacy, and a healthy fuck you to sanctioned authority. For no money and no recognition, writing for an audience of like-minded misfits. Later, I picked up a thick journal crammed with zine reviews called Fact Sheet 5, leafed through their listings and sent off for hundreds of zines. I discovered tens of thousands more at the zine archive housed in the New York State Library. I even began to publish my own zine and traded mine for others. As I dug through mountains of these piquant publications, a whole world that I had known nothing about opened up to me. It was incredibly varied. Zines came in more shapes, styles, subjects, and qualities than one would imagine. But there was something remarkable that bound together this new world I had stumbled upon, a radically democratic and participatory ideal of what culture and society might be, ought to be. In an era marked by the rapid centralization of corporate media, zines are independent and localized, coming out of cities, suburbs, and small towns across the U.S., assembled
So zines are the opposite of corporate media.
on kitchen tables. They celebrate the every person in a world of celebrity. losers in a society that rewards the best and the brightest. Rejecting the corporate dream of an atomized population broken down into discrete and instrumental target markets, zine writers form networks and forge communities around diverse identities and interests. Employed within the grim new economy of service, temporary and quote-unquote flexible work, they redefine work, setting out their creative labor done on zines as a protest against the drudgery of working for another's profit. Defining themselves against a society predicated on consumption, zinesters privilege the ethic of DIY, do-it-yourself, make your own culture and stop consuming that which is made for you. Refusing to believe the pundits and politicians who assure us that the laws of the market are synonymous with the laws of nature, the zine community is busy creating a culture whose value isn't calculated as profit and loss on ruled ledger pages, but is assembled in the margins, using criteria like connection and authenticity. I came to realize that, considered in their totality, zines weren't the capricious ramblings of isolated cranks, though some certainly were, but the variegated voices of a subterranean world staking out its identity through the cracks of capitalism and in the shadows of mass media.
Whoa, hang on, capitalism mention.
But the variegated voices of a subterranean world staking out its identity through the cracks of capitalism and in the shadows of mass media.
Zines are anti-capitalist because they're anti-corporatist, because they're just people doing things at their kitchen table to rebel against the capitalist system.
Zines are speaking to and for an underground culture, and while other groups of individuals come together around the shared creation of their own culture, what distinguishes zinesters from garden variety hobbyists is their political self-consciousness. Many zinesters consider what they do an alternative to and a strike against commercial culture and consumer capitalism. They write about this openly in their zines.
Zines are a strike against commercial culture and capitalism. It's a middle finger to the capitalist establishment.
What was amazing to me, coming from years of sterile academic and political debates on the left in which culture was often in the past dismissed as irrelevant to the quote-unquote real struggle, was that zines seemed to form a true culture of resistance. Their way of seeing and doing was not borrowed from a book, nor was it carefully cross-referenced and cited. Rather, it was, if you'll forgive the word, organic. It was a vernacular radicalism, an indigenous strain of utopian thought.
Wow.
I began my study of zines in earnest near the end of the 12-year conservative drive of the Reagan-Bush era. Against this juggernaut, the radical political opposition, in which I was an active participant, acted out a tragedy seemingly unchanged for decades. One variant went as follows. Leaders organize a quote-unquote mass demonstration. We march, we chant, fringe groups hawk their ridiculous papers, speakers are paraded onto the dais to tell us what we already know. We hope the mainstream media puts us on the news for 5 seconds. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Nothing seems to change. Certainly there were lively and successful models of demonstration and organization like those of ACT UP in its heyday or the WTO protest, but these stand out against the relative failure of the rest. The social movements of the decade that spoke the language and captured the imagination of the public were those not of the left.
Fascinating. So Gerald says, I used to pick up Fact Sheet 5, the guide to zines, back, I think, in the 90s. Well, yeah, I agree with you. Like, this is when zines were at their height. I remember when I was applying, I went to Boston University. I went to their College of Communication, and I applied to BU as a journalism major. But really, I wanted to do, at that time, I was like 17 years old, I wanted to do like magazine journalism, and they called them zine. There was a specific course of study in zines at BU at that time. So it was a pretty thick magazine. Even zines were at their height and even included a few white nationalist ones. It might be interesting to go back and I'm going to actually screenshot this. I want to go back and see if we can find archives of this later. Thanks for that, Gerald.
But of the right. In zines, I saw the seeds of a different possibility. A novel form of communication and creation that burst with an angry idealism. A medium that spoke for a marginal yet vibrant culture that along with others might invest the tired script of progressive politics with meaning and excitement for a new generation. Perhaps, most important, zines were a success story. Throughout the 1980s, while the left was left behind, crumbling and attracting few new converts, zines and underground culture grew by leaps and bounds, resonating deeply with disaffected young people. As a punk rocker, left politico, and a scholar of culture, I was intrigued by their success. Perhaps, I thought to myself, zines were the crack in the seemingly impenetrable wall of the system, a culture spawning the next wave of meaningful resistance. And so I decided to make the politics of zines and underground culture the focus of my study. By politics in this case, I mean simply what zine writers articulate, either explicitly, or as is often the case, implicitly, as being the problems of the present cultural, economic, and political system. What they imagine and create as possible solutions to these problems, and what strategies and chances they have for actualizing these.
Hang on, I know I should be paying attention to this, and I am paying attention to this, but I'm also kind of just flipping through Twitter just to see what's going on. I just want to read you guys a headline that I just saw on Twitter. Miss Switzerland finalist strangled to death, then pureed in a blender by her husband. This is a real headline in the New York Post right now. Miss Switzerland finalist strangled to death, then pureed in a blender by her husband. Listen, the world is so fucked up. What the fuck? A former Miss Switzerland finalist was strangled to death and savagely dismembered by her husband, who then pureed her remains in a blender. I don't even know what to say. Okay, moving on. I had to see that, and so all of you had to suffer too. I apologize for the distraction.
These ideals on both a small and a large scale. As I spent more time with zines and zine writers immersed in this underground world, I realized there was a minor flaw in my theory or fantasy of underground culture as vanguard of world revolution. Witnessing this incredible explosion of radical cultural dissent, I couldn't help but notice that all this radicalism was happening underground. The world above was moving in the opposite direction. The election of a president who, quote-unquote, felt our pain notwithstanding, politics were becoming more conservative and power was becoming more concentrated. More disturbing was that zines and underground culture didn't seem to be any sort of threat to this above-ground world. Quite the opposite. Quote-unquote alternative culture was being celebrated in the mainstream media and used to create new styles and profits for the commercial culture industry. The history of all rebellious cultural and political movements is the history of the unavoidable contradiction of staking out new ground within and through the landscape of the past. But today, this laying of claims may be harder than ever. No longer is there a staid bourgeoisie to confront with avant-garde art, or a square America to shock with countercultural values. Instead, there is a sophisticated marketing machine which gobbles up anything novel and recreates it as product for a niche market. When the New York Times gushes over zines, when punk feminist riot girls are profiled in Newsweek, when quote-unquote alternative rock gets its own show on MTV, when the so-called Generation X becomes an identifiable and lucrative market in the eyes of the editors of Business Week and Advertising Age, rebelling through culture becomes exceedingly problematic. The underground is discovered and cannibalized almost before it exists. Alternative culture was discovered not just by the entertainment industry, but by the academy as well, particularly by radical scholars much like myself, looking for the latest historical agent to hang their political hopes or blame their failures upon. In the academic world, however, There's been a lot of sloppy thinking about the relationship between culture and politics. Critics have invested capitalist ideology with a totalizing power and reach, arguing that all cultural expressions are inevitably expressions of the logic of the status quo. Or, more recently, they do the opposite and make the most outrageous liberatory political claims for the most banal of cultural acts. My purpose here is not to extol or dismiss for scholarship or social change gains from neither, but to understand the politics of zines and underground culture. The powers that be do not sustain their legitimacy by convincing people that the current system is the answer. That fiction would be too difficult to sustain in the face of so much evidence to the contrary. What they must do, and what they have done very effectively, is convince the mass of people that there is no alternative. What I want to argue in the following pages is that zines and underground culture offer up an alternative, a way of understanding and acting in the world that operates with different rules and upon different values than those of consumer capitalism. It is an alternative fraught with contradictions and limitations, but also possibilities. We can learn from both. But what are they? Try again.
Yep.
Zines are non-commercial, non-professional, small circulation magazines which their creators produce, publish, and then distribute by themselves.
That's a good definition.
While shaped by the long history of alternative presses in the United States, zines as a distinct medium were born in the 1930s. It was then that fans of science fiction, often through the clubs they founded, began producing what they called fanzines.
That makes sense.
As a way of sharing science fiction stories and critical commentary and of communicating with one another. 40 years later, in the mid-1970s, the other defining influence on modern-day zines began as fans of punk rock music, ignored by and critical of the mainstream music press, started printing fanzines about their music and cultural scene. In the early 1980s, these two tributaries, joined by smaller streams of publications created by fans of other cultural genres, disgruntled self-publishers, and the remnants of printed political dissent from the 60s and 70s, were brought together and cross-fertilized through listings and reviews in network zines like Fact Sheet 5.
Fact Sheet 5!
As the quote-unquote fan was by and large dropped off of zine, and their number increased exponentially, a culture of zines developed. By the early 1990s, the two editors of the early Fact Sheet 5, deciding upon a title for the commercially published version of their zine, could honestly and accurately refer to the world of zines. When I think of the typical citizen of this world, I see in my mind Christine Bartz, the 35-year-old editor of Slug and Lettuce. Dressed in black from head to foot, hair multi-hued, dreadlocks, rings lining her ears and nose, tattoos circling her wrist, gracing her shoulder, she still thinks of herself as shy and quiet. The weird girl who sat at the back of the class in high school in a town where, quote, there was nothing going down at all, unquote. But as the Velvet Underground song goes, quote, you know her life was saved by rock and roll, unquote. It was in the small punk scene in the central Pennsylvania college town where Chris grew up that she found a community outside of her liberal family where, quote, it was okay that I wasn't like everyone, unquote. And it was through her zine that she forged connections to the larger underground scene which gave her the, quote, inspiration and direction, unquote, to chart a course for herself outside of the mainstream. Surviving on a shoestring, she has just put out her 80th issue of S&L, fitting it in someplace between organizing punk shows, shooting photos of live bands, crisscrossing the country in a van, and developing photos as her primary job. Living on the outskirts of a society that equates success with material acquisition, status, and stability, Chris is poor, marginalized, and perfectly happy. Most zinesters are young and the children of professionals, culturally, if not financially, middle class.
Oh, isn't that
White
funny?
and raised in a relatively privileged position within the dominant culture, they have since embarked on quote-unquote careers of deviance that have moved them to the edges of this society, embracing downwardly mobile career aspirations, unpopular musical and literary tastes, transgressive ideas about sexuality, unorthodox artistic sensibilities,
queer.
and a politics resolutely outside the status quo,
That means they're queer.
more often to the left, but
More often
sometimes
to
to
the
the
left.
right.
Well,
Like Chris, they're simply not interested in the big game that is the straight world. In short, zine writers and readers, although they'd be horrified to tag with such a pat term, are what used to be called bohemians.
Bohemians, holy shit.
It is white middle-class culture and its discontents that informs zines and underground culture. But since one of the attributes of zines is their diversity and unpredictability, the portrait of a young, white, formerly middle-class bohemian looks less and less representative the further one delves into the world of zines. Not all zinesters are young. Much older writers, like Los Angeles science fiction fan Don Fitch, who describes his age as 76 going on 17, puts out zines like From Sunday to Saturday. Some zinesters, like Freedom, a Staten Island high schooler who publishes Orangutan Balls, are working class. And Fernetta McMillan, an African-American woman from Delaware, publishes Sweet Jesus, while two Los Angeles Chicanos, Lalo Lopez and Esteban Zul, put out Pocho, Kickin' Butt for La Raza magazine. Zine publishers are identified less by who they are than, and more by what they believe. The best description of one I've come across is actually a composite portrait written in 1946 of a similar genus, the quote-unquote little magazine editor or writer of the early 20th century. Such a man is stimulated by some form of discontent, whether with the constraints of his world or the negligence of publishers. At any rate, something he considers unjust, boring, or ridiculous. He views the world of publishers and popularizers with disdain, sometimes with despair, and he generally insists that publication should not depend on the whimsy of conventional tastes and choices. Across is actually a composite portrait written in 1946 of a similar genus, the quote-unquote little magazine editor or writer of the early 20th century.
Where did my closed captions go?
Such a man is stimulated by some form of discontent, whether with the constraints of his world or the negligence of publishers. At any rate, something he considers unjust, boring, or ridiculous. He views the world of publishers and popularizers with disdain, sometimes with despair, and he generally insists that publication should not depend on the whimsy of conventional tastes and choices. The whimsy of conventional tastes and choices certainly plays little part in the subjects picked by these writers, whose zines span almost every field, from the sublime to the ridiculous, making a detour through the unfathomable. But one thing gives coherence to this eclecticism: zinesters' fascination with the margins. These may be the margins of literature or music explored through a science fiction fanzine like Stet, or the punk rock Philly zine, or perhaps the perimeter of politics surveyed through the anarchist essays of Instead of a Magazine, the conservative libertarian rants of Inverted Ahorn, or Finster's feminist-infused stories, opinions, and photo collages. In the gay, safe-sex, disease pariah news, the borders of quote-unquote acceptable sexuality are scouted, as they are in the poetry and pornography of Ash and the harder core Black Leather Times. Numerous zines obsessively catalog the ephemera of the past. Show Me Blowout unearthed long-dead Missouri garage bands from the 50s and 60s. 8-Track Mind is devoted to 8-track tape trivia. Bad Seed researches JD, juvenile delinquency, pulp novels, and lurid teen exploitation films. And Past Deadline reprints 19th century newspaper articles. Other writers, turning their attention to the ephemera of the present, celebrate the edges of modern consumer culture through satirical reviews of banal projects and zines such as
I love that
Meanwhile
idea, by the way.
Beer.
I love that idea. Like, he just said that, like, it was about, like, satirical reviews. I love the idea of doing, like, a completely, like, satirical thing. I don't know exactly what form that would take, but it's kind of like, It's kind of like when we say there's this made-up group of totally fictional people called the Overlords, and this is a totally fictionalized example. Like all that stuff. It's like, what if we could create entire publications that explained that there was some sort of like satirical commentary on the left? I think that would be funny.
Frame. The unaffected drawings, poems, and ideas of a young woman in the Whately Brown Review, and the mental meanderings of the
We could call it Communism is Definitely Going to Work This Time. That's the title of the zine. Communism is definitely going to work this time. And it and it can have all in it. It can have like all the ways in which communism has failed, and then at the end it can be like, but we're going to do it differently this time, we promise.
residents of an old age home recorded in Duplex Planet chart the boundaries of artistic expression, and even the margins of sense itself are stretched by an entire zine of pictures of bowling pins in different settings in 11th pin, by the nonsensical photo and text collages of Balcony of Ignorance or Buy Your Name Here, a zine soliciting a new creator, name, and content for each issue. This hyper-specialization of zines, science fiction, punk rock, 8-track tapes, defunct Missouri garage bands, is a bit misleading, for unlike mainstream, quote, niche market, unquote, periodicals, zines don't follow well-laid plans for market penetration or move purposefully in a defined direction courting profitable demographics. The majority of zines are specialized, but only to the point that they communicate the range, however wide or narrow, that makes up the personal interests of the publisher. Zines meander and change direction, switching back, then back again, flowing wherever the publisher's interest takes them. The result is less a defined set of discrete topics covered, and more an amalgam of the diverse interests of those doing the writing. In fact, when Mike Gunderloy, the founding editor of Fact Sheet 5, attempted to make his zine easier to read by ordering zine reviews by category, he says he was flooded by letters in protest. Yikes! Fact Sheet 5 arranged in headings and categories, ugh! When zine becomes reduced to quote-unquote definitions, it loses its soul, one such letter howls. A typical zine, although typical is a problematic term in this concept, might start with a highly personalized editorial, then move into a couple of opinionated essays or rants criticizing, describing, or extolling something or other, and then conclude with reviews of other zines, bands, books, and so forth. Spread throughout this would be poems, a story, reprints from the mass press, some for informational value, others as ironic commentary, and a few hand-drawn illustrations or comics. The editor would produce the content.
You know what's cool about this stuff? It's like, and I know this is going to sound very socialist, but it's not really socialist. It's just kind of like artistic. It's like zines are made by people who have passion for what they're doing, that they aren't made because the person thinks they're going to make money, because they're not going to make money. Like, if you're writing all these articles about, like, you're reviewing bands or you're reviewing CDs or you're talking about sci-fi or you're talking about different shows or, like, all this, or you're even just talking about other zines that you like, it's kind of like, you're not going to make money off of that. You're doing it because you can't not do it because you love whatever the fuck you're writing about. And that's why I think zines kind of work as a tool, because it's not like the left believes they're going to make money off of producing these zines to recruit people. The value is in reaching people with similar values. And I think that's what's fundamentally different between the left and the right, because, I mean, we just saw it earlier. I'm actually kind of glad we started the show with Konstantin Kisin, although it took longer than I thought it would. Like, because you look at someone like Konstantin Kisin, and you look at someone like most of those conservative grifters, and it really is just about money. Dave Rubin is about money and brand, and that's it. Tim Pool is about money and brand, and that's it. Konstantin Kisin is about money and brand, and that's it. And I'm sure there are a million other people that we can name it's about money and brand, and that's it. It's not about something that they're passionate about. It's not about something that they would do even if they weren't getting paid, because a lot of them wouldn't do what they were doing if they weren't getting paid for it. They're doing it because they get paid for it. And the output of what you Hey, guess what? You just got yourself banned again. You were allowed back because I unblocked everyone, and the first thing that you decided to do is come in and whine and complain, and then you just got banned again because we don't want you here. Jesus Christ. Talk about, like, I'm making a point about doing something you're passionate about and of being authentic and organic, and what the fuck do I see in my chat? Some loser that I banned a while ago for being a loser who was constantly whining in my chat, whining again. It's like, Jesus Christ. This is why we ban people. We don't need people like that around. Anyway, but like there is like it's that authenticity that comes through. And I think that it's important people recognize that, because I feel like stuff like this only works like when you do it when you want to do it. Not that you have to do it, not that you feel compelled to do it, not that you're, going to get paid for doing it. You do it because you can't not do it, because it's like what you're passionate about, it's what you're into, it gives you joy, you just like the creative process, any of those things.
Content him or herself, solicit it from personal friends or Zine acquaintances, or less commonly, gather it through an open call for submissions. Material is also quote-unquote borrowed, pirated from other zines and the mainstream press, sometimes without credit, often without permission. The form of the zine lies somewhere between a personal letter and a magazine. Printed on a standard copy machine, folded widthwise to form a folio, and stapled in the crease, zines typically run from 10 to 40 pages. They can, however, run over 100 pages, as Maximum Rock and Roll does, and range from color reproductions and cardstock covers like those of Fish Taco to what was once sent to me by the editor of Frederick's Lament, a seemingly random jumble of smudged copies, mass cultural flotsam and jetsam, and written personal statements stuffed into an envelope. As zines are put together by hand using common materials and technology, do it yourself is the prime directive of the zine world.
Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if so I'm not saying we're going to start this right away. Maybe this is a project for 2025, okay? But like if we can get people in and creating stuff, and just like here's what we do. We use the next couple months to like dick around. And just to be creative, and people create things, and we create a whole kind of like archive library of these zines that people can print out and do stuff with and stuff like that. What if in 2025 we made a community goal, and if you don't want to participate, you don't have to participate. But if you want to participate, it can be like a group project. It's not just going to be me. It's not just going to be Allison. It's not just going to be Gayla. It's not just going to be Bod. It's not just going to be one or two people. This has got to be something that multiple people come together and do, okay? What if we created it to be like a community goal where we try to do one zine a month, where it's like our own regular publication of like, different unwoke things. And it could be anything. We could do highlighting our favorite activists. We could do talking about the different videos that we've watched. We could do just like different concepts. We can have a different, like, it'd be letter from the editor or like whatever, stuff like that. But what if we kind of made that a goal where we all come together to try to figure out to do one zine a month that's just like we have some sort of regular publication schedule, and that way we can all like print it out, and like we can all distribute it in our neighborhoods, and like people could call me of the month. We could have so much fun with this, guys. This would be so fucking fun. We could teach people about different things. Yeah, kind of like a newsletter, but no, not in a book form, but like in a DIY form that anyone can print out. Allison, do you like that idea? And again, it can't just be me or Allison or any one person, because Allison's really been taking the lead on this zine stuff. Gayla's done stuff too. Like, there are people who've done stuff, but like once we figure out how to do it, we kind of dick around. Maybe we come up with some creative ideas. I think that would be cool. I think that would be fucking cool. Maybe we even like just take the next couple months to try to do something kind of like on the down low where we do it we have it all ready to go. Like we get a little bit ahead of the production schedule. Yeah, but Janice, this is not about graphic design though. That's part of the point. I mean, I'm sure we can have some of that. I think that would be a cool idea. We could do a whole zine about Sophie and abolish the family. That can be our first zine.
They consequently look the part, with unruly cut-and-paste layout, barely legible type, and uneven reproduction. There are, however, zines with large circulations like Chris's Slug and Lettuce that are printed professionally on...
And I think we call it the Unwoke Underground. I'm sorry, I've already got the domain for it. It's a cool-ass name. We already have a logo. We have like an iconic logo. I've already put that logo on a t-shirt. Call it the that is the Unwoke Underground. There will be past issues of the Unwoke Underground. See, the whole plan. The plan is coming. Yes! Yes, we can make a zine out of John Morgan's fan fiction. Yeah, Project 2025. Exactly.
Newsprint.
We already
At
have a
over
website.
1,000 copies, this becomes vastly cheaper.
No.
The decline in the cost
No,
of
we're
personal
not doing
computers and the
that.
spread of desktop publishing capability to the smallest of offices, where Zinester employees can quote-unquote liberate computer time, have given more and more people access to equipment to put out professional-looking publications. Zines cost anywhere from nothing to the price of postage to about $5, but swapping zines through a barter system is common. In part...
What does the logo look like? It's on the Unwoke Underground website. I'll show you. The Unwoke Underground website is unwokeunderground.com. And this U, I based it off of like the anarchy symbol. Like it's a U that looks kind of like anyone can like spray paint it on. It's a U with a circle in the back. That's what it looks like. I spent a lot of time making that. I'm very proud of it. I think it looks cool. I put it on a t-shirt. It looks great.
Of the ethic of participation among equals. Distribution is primarily person-to-person via the mail, though zines are also sold in some book and music stores and traded, sold, or given away at punk rock gigs, conventions, activist conferences, and the like. They are advertised via word of mouth, through other zine review sections, and through zines like Zine World and Broken Pencil. The lifespan of a zine ranges from single-issue one-shots to volumes spanning years, with their circulation running from 8 copies to Comet Bus's 12,000. But I would estimate 250 as the average circulation, as publishers strive for a scale that allows them to have complete control over production and distribution while maintaining personal contact with their readers. In line with this ideal of publishing intimacy, zines are almost always one-person operations. A minority are run by small collectives, and a majority accept input from others.
Collective now.
But zines, for the most part, are the expression and the product of an individual. Enough exceptions exist, however, to break this rule. Maximum Rock and Roll, the long-running punk zine, lists about 90 individuals who helped put out a given issue. True, more than half of these people are listed as quote-unquote shit workers, a category of contributors you normally do not see credited on the mastheads of established magazines. But, nevertheless, Maximum Rock and Roll is known for its large, complex, and reasonably efficient production organization. Unlike almost any commercial publication, however, large or small, MRR is decidedly non-profit. To say that zines are not for profit is an understatement. Most lose money. It's not that they aim to be in the red. Most try to break even, and if money is made, that's fine. It is more money to spend putting out the next issue. And again, there are exceptions. Mike Gunderloy, former editor of Fact Sheet.
We could have people sign up for subscriptions. We could distribute the zine digitally, and of course I would put it on my Substack digitally, but if people want a printed zine, they can sign up and buy like a subscription that'll basically cost for like pay for the cost of like printing and like mailing and like all that stuff. I wonder if there's even, there must be some sort of print on demand thing we can do. Honestly, like, I mean, I know this is supposed to be like handmade and stuff like that, but like I mean, this was, we have better thing, we have nicer things now. We can make things more efficient.
5 managed to survive by publishing his zine, albeit with 80-hour work weeks and mercenary forays into computer consulting. R. Seth Friedman, the following editor, was doing the same.
Not
but as a
this
rule,
time,
and with
it
the
doesn't,
exception
Dan.
of free
Not this
zines and
time.
records sent in for reviews, zines are not expected to bring material reward. In fact, the very idea of profiting from a zine is anathema to the underground, bringing with it charges of quote-unquote selling out. What zines are expected to provide is an outlet for unfettered expression and a connection to a larger underground world of publishers doing the same. But since virtually no zine writers send their zines to the Library of Congress to be cataloged, get an ISSN, or list themselves in the Small Press Review, or the International Directory of Little Magazines and Small Presses, it is difficult to determine exactly how large this world is. Such informed sources as Mike Gunderloy estimate that there are currently at least 10,000 to 20,000 different zine titles circulating, while others, such as Seth Friedman, have stretched this number up to 50,000 during zine's peak in 1997. I lean toward the more conservative estimate, but even with 10,000 titles, using the standard magazine readership estimate of 3 readers per magazine and 250 copies per zine as a safe mean, the estimate of a total zine readership and thus primary contact with some facet of the zine world is as high as 7,500,000. But because most zine makers are also zine readers, as part of a whole subculture and tend to read numerous zines, the real number is certainly lower, most likely in the...
Bill says we should have a different picture of James Lindsay every month in our zine that you can put on a dartboard or take to the... Well, not take to the... Okay. I feel compelled to say that I don't want anyone physically harming James Lindsay in any way. I disavow all violence. I don't want anyone... I mean, shooting at a target at the range when the target is a piece of paper is different. I just don't want to give... I don't want to give the impression that I'm putting a fucking hit out. I am not doing that. For real. So maybe a dartboard is fine. We have to think about that, because you always got to remember, anything you guys do is going to reflect back on me, and I am explicitly saying I don't want any violence. I don't want a hit taken out on him. Disavow. Maybe we could do pin the tail on James Lindsay, though. Maybe we could do that. We'll have to think about it. Let's noodle that.
500,000 to 750,000 range. When one thinks of underground culture, one's mind naturally turns to big cities, the traditional loci of Bohemia, and certainly writers living in Portland, San Francisco, and New York City produce more zines than any other single locale. But it is more out-of-the-way places like Harvest, Alabama, Freehold, New Jersey, Morganville, Kansas, and Monrovia, California that, taken together, outstrip the major metropolises as the germination points of zines. Examining the zines reviewed in an issue of Zine Guide or Fact Sheet 5, which held the most complete listing of zines available, I found an almost 2-to-1 ratio in favor of small city, suburban, rural origin over large, urban areas. Out of 1,142 zines listed from the USA, 749 originated from outside the major cities in each state. Though surprising, this disparity makes sense. Gentrification and the allure of the bohemian life for non-bohemians have sent rents and services in urban areas out of reach for many people, particularly those who eschew stable careers and ideals of material success. Most people who publish are young and often still live in the suburbs with their parents. As traditional garrets give way to gentrified lofts and smoky cafes are superseded by the Starbucks coffee chain, creative misfits scattered across the country use the culture of zines to share, define, and hold together a quote-unquote culture of discontent. a virtual Bohemia. But what are they? If pushed to come up with a single defining attribute, I would have to say this. Zines are decidedly amateur.
Decidedly
While this
amateur.
term has taken on a pejorative cast in a
I love
society
that.
that honors professionalism and the value of the dollar,
I love that. It's
the roots
decidedly
of
amateur.
amateurism are far more noble. Amator, Latin for lover. While other media are produced for money or prestige or public approval, zines are done, as Fact Sheet 5's founding editor Mike Gunderloy is fond of pointing out, for love. Love of expression, love of sharing, love of communication. And in protest against a culture and society that offers little reward for such acts of love, zines are also created out of rage. Zines are not the only cultural expression of love and rage lurking underground today. Though drawing from a different population, primarily urban, primarily black, and forged out of the distinct crucible of racism and poverty, the hip-hop subculture, through the voice of rap music, addresses issues familiar to the zine underground. Quote-unquote, representing yourself and community, staying true or selling out, and the search for a voice in a society that just doesn't listen. Nor are zinesters the first people painstakingly to construct an alternative culture only to find it gobbled up by the very interests it ostensibly opposes. This is the history of Bohemia since the mid-19th century. Zines are the most recent entry in a long line of media for the misbegotten, a tradition stretching back to Thomas Paine and other radical pamphleteers, up through the underground press of the 1960s and on towards the internet. The fact that they are not the only underground culture, and that their trajectory is not entirely unique, in my opinion, makes this study not less useful, but more so. Although the world of zines operates on the margins of society, its concerns are common to all. How to count as an individual, how to build a supportive community, how to have a meaningful life, how to create something that is yours. Some readers will no doubt be disappointed, while others, I'm sure, will be thrilled that in the pages that follow I engage more with the world of zines and less with the words of academics. I did not make this choice because there isn't good scholarship out there. There is. Nor is it out of ignorance of the studies that have been done and the theories presented. You will find them mentioned in my endnotes, but too often the citation of learned authorities is equated with rigorous theoretical analysis. Sometimes it becomes its replacement. Wary of this trap, I privilege the actual material and its interpretation. Focusing my efforts on describing and explaining the phenomenon I'm studying, I then draw the larger theory out of this description and explanation. Some might also find the structure of this book unorthodox and perhaps unsettling. I struggled mightily with how to organize this seemingly disorganized subject matter, how to discipline undisciplined subjects. In the end, I decided to structure the book around major themes in the zine world with these broken up by subthematic vignettes. I think it works in balancing out the unfolding and chaotic dynamism of the contemporary zine world with the structure necessary to make sense of it. I also think it accurately describes what binds the world of zines together: ideals, actions, and reactions. Finally, it mirrors the structure of zines themselves, at first glance a bit fragmentary, but coming together inevitably to reveal a world, provide an analysis, and make a point. Still others will be disappointed that I've written a book on zines at all. Isn't this just another exploitation of zines, quote-unquote selling out the underground to the above-ground world? Perhaps. But alternative culture has already been discovered. The more important question is who will represent it and how. The ways in which I explore and explain the world of zines certainly bear the mark of my theoretical interests and political concerns, but I'm of the world I write, and my concern for the underground runs deeper than its status as this, or last, season's cultural exotica. More important, I'm a conscientious observer and a careful listener, and I believe that what zinesters have to say and what zines represent are too important to stay sequestered within the walls of a subcultural ghetto. In dealing with such an idiosyncratic subject matter as zines, there exists a distinct temptation just to hand over a stack of them and let readers decide for themselves what they are. But that's impossible here, and in light of the purpose of this book, not even desirable. In recent years, I've pored over thousands upon thousands of zines and interviewed scores of zine writers and readers. I've published zines myself and been part of the underground cultural scene. I've read what there is to read and kept a watchful eye on the times in which we live. In the pages that follow, I'll apply this experience to act as a guide, mapping out the philosophical and political contours, the twists and turns, the love and rage that make up this strange subterranean world. This has been Notes from Underground,
All right, is that it?
Zines and the Politics of Alternative Culture,
Yeah.
written by Stephen.
That's it. Hey, listen, I thought that was actually really interesting to listen to. Does anyone want to put some key takeaways in the chat? Because I know this isn't the type of stuff we usually do, but given that we're doing the zine workshop tonight, I thought that was really interesting to listen to. I liked listening to the history of it. I kind of like I mean, we came up with an idea, with a couple ideas, I mean, not even just a couple. Like, so many people were coming up with ideas on the stream. So obviously, I think people were inspired by it in some way. I really think that this is something that we could turn into something cool. You know, it's like every time I come back to this, and again, I want to do a big shout out to Honest Dog Allison, because honestly, like, this is an idea that I kind of loved from the beginning, but she was the one that took it and started doing it and started creating them in the Discord and got other people to do it, and I just think that they've done such cool things. And again, if you haven't seen the zines that she's created, you can head over to unwokeunderground.com. And you can go to flyers and zines up at the top, and you can see, and these are all available to download. These are all Honest Dog Allison's right here. They just look so cool. You can really spend some time with them. They're just like, they're really, really cool. These are hers as well. And then we get into, and these are in no source of order, because I think everyone has done great work. Gala has created zines. Like, these look cool too. They've got QR codes where people can go for more information if they want. You can fold them up into little books. You can download these and put them in whatever order you want to put them in. I mean, you can really kind of like mix and match in many respects. Sin has done some great work. Bot's done some great work on some stickers and stuff like that. But it's like, I feel like, you know, and there's stuff in the Discord that I haven't put on this website yet, just because I can only do 50 or 60 things at a time. But I guess my point is, like, so shout out to Honest Dog Allison, because she's the one that's really kind of been dragging this, and she's been like poking me and reminding me. She's like, Carlin, we got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. And it wasn't that I wasn't inspired by it, and it wasn't that I didn't think it was a good idea. It's just that I have so many things going on that it's sometimes hard to get my focus. But I have to say, like, I'm really glad that she kept with it. I'm really glad she kept on my ass. Yeah, well, and this is what people need to know too. She's a professional. She's a professional artist. And so that's why her stuff looks like it does. But I think everyone's zines look cool. Like, is the thing. It's like, you don't have to be a professional artist in order to do this stuff. You can do it based on, you can do collages with things like magazines you have in your home. You can use AI art to do it. You can use, I mean, we have so many, you can use like something like Canva to help you do it. Like, I think there are a lot, you can hand draw, you can just put stuff together, and like, and Allison's going to talk about that tonight. I think, like, we're in a position where everyone has the ability to participate in something like this and make something really cool. And like, even if you just want to brainstorm ideas, maybe some people, if they don't feel like they can do artistic stuff, they can write copy for it and come up with the copy, and then someone else can take it and do the art around it. So people can really work together to create something cool. And it's just like, it is really inspiring though, isn't it? It's like, you can do cool stuff, and then we go and distribute them out in the world. Like, you know, I think, like, they're supposed to look amateur, and I think that that's something people need to hear. You know, it's not supposed to be professional. It's supposed to look amateur. It's supposed to be sloppy. It's supposed to look organic. It's supposed to have that kind of grit to it. That's part of the point. So you don't have to ever worry about doing the most perfect thing, right? And so, yeah, like if you like scrapbooking, this is something that you can do, right? It's free form. You can there's no standard way to do it. You can come up with an idea for one single sheet. You can come up with an idea for a whole publication. And I want to say this too, like anyone that wants to use the stuff that I've created to create zines, whether you're using stuff that I've written on the Substack or you're using designs I've created or things like that, I like you can use all of it. I don't care. I give everyone permission to use as much of my stuff as they want to use to create zines and to be inspired by and to do all that. So I'm giving it all to you, and you can get other stuff as well. You know, no, you don't need to do InDesign. No, you don't. No InDesign needed. Like, so yeah, I mean, you can do stuff like that. Like, you can use Adobe, but you can also just do it like written out and drawing and stuff like that too. So I think this is something fun too that people can really experiment with. Like, we can try things. Some things are going to work. Some things are not going to work. So if you haven't yet signed up for tonight's workshop, I highly encourage everyone to head over to the Substack and do that. And again, if you are not available tonight, it's going to be in about an hour and a half. If you are not available tonight to do this, that's okay. Sign up anyway, and you will get a link to the recording when it's all completed. The workshop is completely free. So there's no reason not to. And I just think this is just like such a cool thing. And I think we can do so many cool things with it. And even like, I don't know if you guys like know this. Well, I know some people know this, but like I've even started putting the zines on merch. And of course, Allison gave me permission to do this. Like, I got permission to do it. But like, also, again, if you want to download these designs, all of this stuff, we are making it freely available. So if anyone wants to, and there are links to high resolution PDFs, you can find out where the QR codes go. But like, if you guys want to download these designs and print them off or do stuff with them, like, I think this is one of those things where, like, no one's coming in and saying, you can't use my stuff. Like, we want people to use this. We want people to print it out. We want people to distribute it. I put it on merch because I thought it looked fucking cool. And I want to make cool things for people to wear when they go out in public. Allison has been, like, I've seen, so, like, I know Allison got some of this merch. She got this in gold, and it looks rad. It looks awesome. And it's got a QR code on it. It goes to my Substack. And so stuff like that. But if you want to download the designs and make and put it on your own shirt and print it out, like, you don't have to buy it from my store. I just put it up in case people wanted that. But like, you can do it yourself too. That's part of like why this is so fucking cool. So I'm really excited about this project. I think it's fun. I think it's innovative. I think it's interesting. I think it's something that I haven't seen people do. I haven't seen people talk about. And we are using the less tools against them. We are using the less tools to articulate our ideas in a way that we can blend in spaces and look and confuse people and stuff like that. We can even get much more specific with the stuff we're putting in the QR codes we're putting out. Like, there's so many possibilities to this. And I love the idea of like getting together to work on a monthly publication that we put out where like everyone does a page or two, and like before you know it, we've got a whole fucking publication. And we put it out every month. And we talk about it. We do different like kind of like subversive things. And people will get excited about it. Anyway. So I'm looking forward to tonight's workshop. I really got a lot out of that video. I think that video was actually pretty great, even though it was obviously written by a leftist. I might even check out that book sometime to actually look at the whole thing. You want to make a magazine? You want to make a magazine. A magazine. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, guys, so that is all we have today, and I'm going to go looking forward to the workshop tonight, Allison, and again, I want to encourage everyone to sign up. Tomorrow, we are going to be doing Sophie Lewis on abolishing the family. We cannot have a queer Marxism week without our Sophie. Actually, Sophie's going to be making an appearance on Friday, too, with Emmy O'Brien. This is a good 2-hour episode on Friday. And then we're doing Queer Futurism, Everything to Everyone on Saturday. Human Centipede, this is the presentation you sent me for Socialism Saturday. And so we are going to, and I might do some other Twitter spaces too. There's a lot going on. But anyway, guys, thank you for coming out. If you want to support the work I'm doing, please head over to the Substack. That is Carlin, KARLYN.substack.com. I'm still, well, I don't know what that means. To be sure someone isn't disparaging it. I don't know what that means, Dan. I would prefer if people didn't use my logos. My logos are my logos, but like you can use all the materials. Like I would prefer people didn't do that, but people can. I've seen people use the logos. I've seen people put them in their Twitter profiles and stuff like that. I'm not going to get uppity about that. I don't mind if someone puts it in their Twitter profile. What I would mind is if someone takes my logo and then makes their own thing based on my logo. I would have a question about that. But if people are just using it like on their stuff or like whatever on the zines or like on their profiles, I don't care about that. That's fine. Anyway, if you want to support the work I'm doing and keep me in business, I am trying to get 100 new supporters on my Substack this month. We are about 35 supporters there, so we got a little ways to go. We're about 1/3 of the way there, guys. I am 100% funded by you. You guys pay for my time. You guys pay for my energy. You guys pay for my streams. You guys pay for my articles. You guys pay for my podcast. You guys support the work I'm doing. I cannot do it without you. If you don't yet support my work, please head over to the Substack, Carlin, KARLYN.substack.com. Sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year, and allow me to keep this free for everyone, because if I don't meet certain goals with people that are financially able to fund my work, I'm going to have to shut it down and only talk to people who pay me. And I don't really want to do that. I want to make my work free for everyone, but I need your help to do that. Head over to the Substack, sign up. We've got a Bitchcraft call this weekend that people can join. We're doing a private supporter Bitchcraft on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. People can join that. We're doing movie night on Sunday, of course. We're watching The Manchurian Candidate on Sunday in honor of Bot's birthday. I'm sure there's other stuff too. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for today. We'll see you tomorrow or see you in the workshop tonight. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you soon. Bye.